It's no secret 13.10 has led to a massive shakeup of builds, so in today's video, we're going to be clearing everything up. For the champions that have seen their build paths change or new viable builds emerge, we'll be showcasing exactly what you should be building for 13.10 in our new itemization guide. And remember, if you want to improve fast and get the rank you've always wanted, then go to SkillCapped.com. Stop wasting your time grinding thousands of games only to see no progress. With SkillCapped, you'll uncover the secrets to climbing ranks fast that only take a few minutes to learn and can be immediately applied in your next game. The best part? It's completely risk-free to try, as you're kept safe with our rank up insurance. If you don't significantly improve while actively using SkillCapped, then you get your money back, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Get the rank you've always wanted by clicking the link in the description below. Alright, now back to the video. Top lane champions were not super heavily impacted by the item changes, but there are a few champs with new build paths. ADC items being changed have affected two top lane champs in particular, being Gangplank and Tryndamere. Last patch, Gangplank liked going Prowler's Claw as his mythic, but now that it's a legendary item, his build consists of Essence Reaver into Quick Blades and the Collector or Stormrazor third. Tryndamere is actually really liking the new Gale Force due to the fact its passive damage now scales off crit. After Gale Force, going Phantom Dancer into Essence Reaper is the build most high elo Trynd players are using. Quinn has a few different options for her build, as you can go crit or lethality. New Ghostblade is super strong when you're playing into a comp with majority squishy champions, while a Stormrazor Rush into crit is going to work best into more durable comps. Stormrazor in combination with Gale Force is actually a super nuts 2-item core, as you have so much upfront burst power from the build. Camille is one champion who has been thriving with the Trinity Force buffs, and the item should continue to rise in priority throughout the patch. Trinity build is going to work best for you in games where the enemy comp lacks 2 or more tankier champs. Just like Camille, Jax is another champion that needs to be building Trinity Force way more in 13.10. Tony Top, who's always super high challenger in NA's solo queue, has swapped over to exclusively building Trinity on his Jax. A Trinity Force into Blade of the Ruined King core turns Jax into an absolute menace in the side lane. One other top laner who has seen a surge in power with Trinity Force is Yorick. Trinity users are actually winning about 5% more than Divine Sunderer users, which is an even greater spread than what we are seeing on Jax and Camille. Ghostblade is seeing more play on junglers and mid laners than top lane champs, but one top laner you should be looking to run it on is Jace. Jace loves the ability to exert early aggression, and there's really no better item to help him with that than the new Ghostblade. Uxin is primarily seen in the mid lane, but can work up top as well, and a really unique build has been popping up on him. You'd think Rageblade would be the mythic of choice, and it's definitely not terrible, but Ghostblade is actually seeing better results right now. You go Stormrazor Rush into Ghostblade second, which provides you with a ludicrous amount of kiting and catch power. One top lane champ who's been seeing good results with the new Rageblade is Kayle. You can rush Rageblade on Kayle and go into Nashor's Tooth second for the 2-item core. Third item is really situational, as Rabadon's, Kraken Slayer, and Wit's End are all viable options. Prowlers used to be Renekton's optimal mythic item in previous patches, but now that he can't build it, Gore Drinker is looking like the next best option. You can go full on Bruiser by rushing Gore, or if you want a bit more 1v1 dueling power for the early game, Blade of the Ruined King Rush is viable too. The biggest shakeup to jungle builds in 13.10 has been the emergence of Ghostblade on pretty much anyone who can run it. Kha'Zix is a no-brainer, and you should be rushing Ghostblade on him in every single game. Rengar is perfect with Ghostblade as well, and can actually build the new Stormrazor 2 for some really insane one-shot power. Hecarim is an absolute unit with the Ghostblade Rush, as the item synergizes better with him than the majority of champions. Graves has seen about a 2% spike to his overall win rate in 13.10, all thanks to being able to rush Ghostblade and take advantage of a lethality build once again. The new Bloodthirster is actually really nuts on Graves as a third pickup to provide a mass amount of AD and make your one-shot power from Fog ridiculously strong. Kayn isn't seeing the same kind of crazy success as other junglers with Ghostblade, but it's still his best performing mythic item. If you enjoy Talon jungle, he's made his way back into a pretty strong spot for 13.10, as the Ghostblade Rush is insanely good for him. The majority of Shaco players are still running Duskblade and are missing out on the free elo that Ghostblade has to provide. New Duskblade is quite weak at the moment, and there's no champion that really likes it over Ghostblade. Rek'Sai has below a 1% play rate for solo queue right now, so if you're one of the very few players who are looking to pick her up, definitely be abusing that Ghostblade Rush as well. There are so many better jungle options than Zed in 13.10, but if you're going to play him, he's yet another champion that needs to be rushing Ghostblade. Another pretty niche jungler that isn't relatively strong right now, but does work well with the new Ghostblade is Qiyana. With Kraken Slayer being removed as a mythic item, Master Yi has a new look to his build for 13.10, as rushing Blade of the Ruined King and going into Rageblade second is the standard core. Third item all depends on the situation, as Wits is great into heavy AP, Death's Dance into AD comps, and Kraken Slayer if you want more damage. Bel'Veth's new build is looking exactly the same as Master Yi's, going for that Blade of the Ruined King rush into Rageblade second. Wits or Death's Dance are generally the best third options. Kindred is the final jungler with a new build for 13.10. On-hit builds with Rageblade are actually performing extremely poorly right now, as crit builds are the way to go. New Stormrazor is working amazing for Kindred's rush item, while Gale Force or Infinity Edge are viable second options. Third item is going to be Rapid Fire Cannon. Moving on to mid lane, this patch has had a relatively low impact on the role, but there are a few new builds you can try. The Mana Crystal start on Malzahar is extremely strong right now, and something we would highly recommend playing if you are in the lower ranks. Lost Chapter being 200 gold cheaper means you can start Mana Crystal, go Futures Market in runes, and hit your chapter spike insanely quick. Almost everyone could have guessed that the new Ghostblade would turn Talon into a monster mid lane pick, and that has most definitely been the case. Ghostblade into Prowlers and Edge of Night is a really solid 3-item core. Pantheon is really good with Ghostblade, however Eclipse is still a viable alternative too. For a full-out carry build with Panth, you can look to go Ghostblade into Prowler's Claw second and Black Cleaver third. Despite Prowler's Claw Dash being removed, Qiyana is actually performing better stat-wise in 13.10, all thanks to how broken Ghostblade is. You can try out a 3-item core of Ghostblade into Prowler's Claw and Manamune. Of course, Zed is fitting in very nicely with the Ghostblade rush as well, followed by a Ravenous Hydra second and Cyrilda's Grudge or Black Cleaver third. Ukshin builds are always so unique, and there are many variations you can run, but one common theme among all of them is the Stormrazor rush. Ghostblade, Gale Force, and Rageblade are all viable mythic options right now, so you've got to experiment to see what works best for you. Yone and Yasuo builds are all over the place right now, but one setup that many high elo players have been liking the best is a Gale Force rush into Bloodthirster second. Infinity Edge is performing very poorly on the champions, and so is Static Shiv, which are two of the more popular items in the lower ranks. Katarina can build a full-on hit setup of Nashers with Rageblade and Kraken Slayer, however it's not standing out compared to her other builds. Bruiser with Divine Sunderer and more bursty with Rocket Belt are outperforming Rageblade as Kat's mythic item. It's really only Western Cat players that are using Rageblade, as Katarina has a 2% better win rate in Korea due to less players using the build. Here's where the meat and potatoes of the video begins, as we will be covering a new build for every single ADC. Two builds to try on Neela, the first being a full crit setup with a Gale Force rush, while the second is Lethality, taking advantage of how OP Ghostblade is. Kog'Maw is absolutely loving 13.10, as he's performing exceptionally well with a Rageblade rush into Hurricane second for the 2-item core. Blade Rush is still viable as well if you want to have a little more sustain and kiting power in your build. There are two very different viable builds for Twitch right now, one fully on hit and the other full crit. The on hit build consists of Blade of the Ruined King with Rageblade and Hurricane. Can't really go wrong with this one. If you prefer more upfront damage and burst power though, then going Stormrazor into Infinity Edge is performing extremely well too. You've got a few really good options for Jhin right now, with a Stormrazor rush being amazing. However, Gale Force rush is great too if you need added mobility earlier on. Infinity Edge is a solid pickup too, but only in games where the enemy comp does not have a ton of dive. Gale Force remains too good to pass up on in most cases due to how powerfully active is on a non-gap close champ like Jhin. Lucian has a few really great build options for 13.10. The first one takes advantage of the buffed Stormrazor, rushing the item and then going Gale Force second. This build is super potent, especially when paired with Nami for incredible burst power. Essence Reaver into Quick Blades is a great build as well, and is going to work a bit better in games where the enemy comp is tankier and you need to kite out those extended fights. Lethality Draven is back as a new 3-item core of Essence Reaver, Ghostblade, and the Collector works amazing. Crit Draven is 100% viable as well though, and better into more beefier comps, as you'll go with Infinity Edge and Bloodthirster. Xayah is rocking a 2-item core of Stormrazor and Quick Blades to great success so far. Third item comes down to Fire Cannon and Bloodthirster in most games, Fire Cannon against heavy ranged, and Bloodthirster into more melee. Jinx is yet another ADC sporting the brand new Stormrazor rush, while she's one of the few ADCs who's actually liking the new Infinity Edge. Hurricane or Fire Cannon as your third item is the way to go for most games. There are two very distinct and completely different builds that you can look to run on Varus. The first is an on-hit build focused around auto attack DPS with Rageblade, Hurricane, and Bloodthirster into comps that are super squishy and won't be stacking any armor. Going Lethality Varus and taking advantage of Ghostblade is very strong as well. There are 3 unique builds going around on Ezreal, and each is strong in different situations. Trinity Force is great when you're playing into heavy melee comps that you can be weaving in auto attacks against. Ghostblade is amazing as a third pickup in games where the enemy comp is very squishy. Quick Blades kind of meets in the middle as the cookie cutter mythic that works if the enemy comp is a mix of squishies and tanks. If you're not taking advantage of the new Ghostblade on Misfortune, then what are you even doing? Don't even consider running crit builds on the champ, as Lethality is the way to go right now. Tristana is another one of those ADCs that is liking the new Stormrazor as a rush option. Infinity Edge second and Rapid Fire Cannon third will round out the core build. Despite the majority of Caitlyn players running Infinity Edge for the mythic, it's actually a full-out Energizer build that is performing best. Look to try a 3-item core of Gale Force, Rapid Fire Cannon, and Stormrazor on your Kate in 13.10. Kai'Sa has one of the most unique builds this patch that is not being played on any any other ADC. Stormrazor is the rush item, followed by Rageblade second and Nashor's Tooth third. In games where you need a bit more power to shred through a tanky front line, then going for Hurricane as your third item is an option as well. With Shield Bow removed as a mythic item, Samira has definitely fallen in power, but players have adapted a new build to keep her afloat. It's the Collector as your rush item with Infinity Edge second and Bloodthirster third. There isn't really one Ashe build that is standing out amongst the rest, as you can go for a full crit setup with Stormrazor and Infinity Edge, or opt for the on-hit build consisting of Rageblade and Hurricane. Just like Samira, Zeri has lost quite a bit of power with Shield Bow demoted to a legendary item, and the new build leading to the best results in the champion consists of rushing Stormrazor, grabbing Hurricane second, and picking up Quick Blades third. A more underrated build that we think will become more popular over time consists of running the buffed Trinity Force and going back to a more bruiser-like setup. Aphelios has actually seen a nice spike in power for 13.10, as he is taking full advantage of rushing Stormrazor, while Gale Force and Infinity Edge can be interchanged as mythics depending on the game. Into more tanks, IE and Hurricane is a great combo, while into squishier champs, Gale Force and Bloodthirster work super well. The new Sivir build you should be looking to run in 13.10 revolves around a Stormrazor rush into Quick Blade second and Phantom Dancer third. The Vayne build leading to the best results for 13.10 is actually not even on hit. Rageblade is underperforming on Vayne, while a Lethality build is actually popping off. If you're going to be playing Vayne, running the 3-item core of Essence Reaver, Ghostblade, and the Collector is what we'd recommend. Callista is one of the worst ADCs after the item changes, but if you dare to play her in 13.10, the build you'll want to try is Rageblade Rush into Hurricane second and Shield Bow third. It's the Echoes of Helia takeover down in the support role right now, so look to abuse the item before it gets nerfed. Janna is amazing with Echoes, while Ardent Censer is slotted in second, followed by Staff of Flowing Water third. You need to be building Echoes of Helia on Sona as well, and she's actually performing amazing with the same 3-item core as Janna. Nami is also abusing Echoes of Helia, but her 3-item core looks a bit different. You actually want to continue rushing Imperial Mandate and go into Echoes of Helia as your second purchase. Although Moonstone really should be Soraka's best mythic item, Echoes is just so OP right now that you can build it on Soraka too. Pyke is one support that can abuse the new Ghostblade, as the 2-item core of Ghostblade and Umbral Glaive is really great for the champ. New Duskblade is performing super weak in comparison to Ghostblade after the changes. Yuumi is another support that theoretically should like Shurelya's or Moonstone best, but with how strong Echoes of Helia is, you want to be abusing the item. Lulu is one of the most unique builds popping up for support this patch, which consists of rushing Ardent Censer. Ardent being cheaper now and providing more power from its passive makes it a strong rush option for Lulu, as you throw E on your carry and watch them melt. The majority of Seraphine players are going Moonstone for their mythic, but the ones building Echoes of Helia are winning way more. Echoes into Rylai's is the 2-item core you should be playing on Seraphine. Just like Nami, Karma is actually really liking the new Mandate as a rush item instead of going for a mythic. You delay your mythic purchase until second, which will be the Echoes of Helia. Ashe support is currently seeing far greater results going for a full-out AP support build than going AD. Don't bother building Umbral Glaive and instead rush the Echoes of Helia and go into Ardent Censer second. And if you want to improve fasting at the rank you've always wanted, then go to SkillCapped.com. With premium courses for every role and skill taught by the best players, SkillCapped is the perfect platform to help take your game to the next level. Take our Wave Control course. While you wait for your next game to start, you can learn freezing, fast pushing, slow pushing, bouncing waves, the list goes on, all in just a few minutes to maximize your improvement rate. Or maybe you just like seeing your opponent's health go to 0. Then you'll love our trading course. We even have a skill test at the end so you can see how good you really are. Players just like you are leaving 5-star reviews and raving at how helpful they are. That's not all we offer though, as every week we release 10 brand new Smurf commentaries where a challenger player teaches you how to climb out of the exact rank you're stuck in. If you're looking for something more personal instead, then we got you covered with one-on-one coaching from our trained challenger experts. All this seemed too good to be true? Well, don't worry, we're backed by a rank up guarantee. If you don't significantly improve while actively using SkillCapped, then you get your money back, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below and get the rank you've always wanted. So there you have it guys, a complete rundown of all the new builds for patch 13.10. With so many new builds, we are bound to miss a couple, so let us know in the comments if you think there's one that we should have included. Thanks so much for watching, good luck in solo queue, and we'll see you in the next one.